Hello, I'm Jeff Warner, coming to you from the LG Digital Studio at Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies. In focus today, artificial intelligence. I'm joined by Dr. Annie Green, curriculum advisor and faculty member for the Certificate in Artificial Intelligence Management. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you, Jeff.
So let's begin with the first question. Annie, tell us, what's the difference between artificial intelligence, business intelligence, and machine learning?
That's actually a good question. And let's kind of put things in context here. Intelligence has been around for a while. I mean, we have agencies that actually focus on intelligence, things like, the Central Intelligence Agency and that sort of thing. So artificial intelligence kicked in about 1956, back when they had the first artificial intelligence conference. So I'm looking at it that we came into now the 21st century, and all of a sudden intelligence is a component of the business environment. So therefore we have put it in context now. So business intelligence is basically artificial intelligence. It's just that it's in the context of the enterprises that we run. So we've had intelligence in tools, we've had intelligence in products, we've had intelligence in a lot of disciplines, but however it's now hitting our mainstream enterprise. So there really is no difference. It's like artificial intelligence is the bucket because it is digital. So it's not a human intelligence, so therefore it is artificial. But in retrospect, all of them are basically the same, which is what is the information and the knowledge that you need to be able to make the proper decisions in today's world.
Well, let's talk about the enterprise and the organization. How can artificial intelligence help the decision maker?
We have gotten to a point where we have so much information around our operations within organizations that we need to look at that. It's historical data, it's longitudinal data. It puts us in perspective in like a time period of things that have happened, that have repeatedly happened. It helps us to recognize that there are some practical decisions that can be made immediately if we then augment them with judgment to get better decisions. So what I'm getting at is that we have gone through those ages, and now we're in an age where we have collected so much information that if we actually take that information and model it based on how we do our work, then we can get results that will help us to make better decisions based on previous lessons learned, based on previous best practices, and based on innovation and improvement of the way we work.
So we have the data, we have the models. So how can artificial intelligence help us become better strategists in the enterprise?
As a strategist, the first thing that we're looking at is establishing the goals and the objectives that we're trying to achieve. Within the organization, and here's where I think we kind of stray a little bit. Within the organization, you definitely have a supply chain, but you also have a value chain. And some look at them interchangeable, but a value chain is where am I going to gain information in order to improve the efficiencies, effectiveness, and possibly innovate within the organization. So when I'm looking at strategy, my goal is, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to improve the competencies of my people so that they can produce better products? Am I trying to improve the competencies of my partners, which are the contractors and such that are within my organization? Am I trying to ensure that my people have the information such that they can make decisions in a quick manner? So you see, you can go along and come up with what are the areas that my strategic plan has laid out for improvement within my enterprise. Even technology. Am I using the right technology? Is that technology bringing performance gains to me? How is this technology augmenting my enterprise such that it is improving the efficiency or the effectiveness of how I operate? So artificial intelligence with that knowledge, especially like transactional knowledge, even transactional information, as well as people and how they work and the information they've gathered, it can tell the story or give you insights into what you need to do to improve. we've constantly been improving our enterprises because, I mean, come on, we've gone through, what would you call it, business process engineering. We've gone through business process improvement. We've gone through re-engineering types of efforts. We've done all of this, and key to the success of those was understanding what we were doing in the first place. And in most cases, we didn't. When we downsized, we eliminated a lot of people in the organization because we didn't know how they fit in, and we didn't know which transactions they actually contribute toward. We then right-sized based on what we thought, and our organizations have suffered from a lot of those decisions. Now we have information that can feed in and increase the certainty of those decisions. It won't make it absolute, but at least it will give insights into whether or not it is a high risk or a low risk type of decision to move forward with.
Well, let's explore that. You bring up the point of risk and also augmenting the value chain. So the implementation of AI in an enterprise, what are some of the risks, and what are some of the risks about not implementing AI?
The risks of actually implementing AI, partly culture, and then secondly, it's going to be, I have to say, understanding. And why I say that is because I think that we're in a battle for semantics here. Things have been introduced, and when they don't catch on, we tend to take an alternate path. Rather than understanding what it is we're trying to do and how it fits in, we would rather take another path so that the words marry up instead of the actual actions of what we're doing. I don't know if that's kind of confusing to say, but what happens is my risk of going into an organization and saying, perhaps you need to look at your operations differently. The executive might look at it, and if I use the proper buzzwords, then they might be inclined to follow me. But if I use words that they're not familiar with, then they tend not to follow you, and therefore they're not coming up to speed on the new innovations and the new things that are out there, and they lack some of the important information that's necessary to make decisions around implementing AI within this organization. So what you wind up with is a shell, and what it is something that looks and feels good, but then you're not certain about how it operates. Now, how that'll make a problem when you put AI into your organization is that if you are placing AI that's supposed to augment your decision making and you're unaware of the algorithms, or you're unaware of the components that need to go into those algorithms so that they can guarantee you some level of certainty, then your risk is going to be extremely high, because then you're going to be making decisions based on guess and gosh rather than on getting to the precise definitions of what it is we're trying to uncover to make decisions on. Does that make sense?
It does. So if I understand you correctly, we need to understand the underlining algorithms. What are they producing?
Yes.
But most importantly, I'm understanding that it comes down to people and communication.
Absolutely.
And if the people, the communications, and the culture are not prepared to adopt AI or any other advanced technology, there's a huge risk of failure.
There's an extreme risk of failure. It could be disastrous. Now, if they are, the benefits will far outweigh the disaster, but you have to be prepared for it. You know, you have to have, let's get to a point of like even in intelligence, there's a different side to it too. It's not just the exact absolute running of algorithms, you know. Sometimes there's judgment that has to go into it. And how do you measure judgment? How do you look at the moral compass of a person and know that they're going to make the right decision? And how do you know not to just go with the individual, but to come together collectively and come up with something that fits within your organization and doesn't marry up with the morality of the individual?
Thank you, Dr. Annie Green. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. And thanks to everyone out there for watching. Stay tuned for more from the LG Digital Studio at Georgetown School of Continuing Studies.